I'm Chase Sr. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles now. I'm coming to you from Radio Row in Indianapolis from the 2025 NFL Scouting Combine. And coming up, there's a lot of talk about Eagles general manager Howie Roseman potentially targeting Browns edge rusher Myles Garrett in a trade. It's one of the juiciest offseason storylines that's being discussed here in Indy. Now let's get into the latest right now. A lot to talk about here on the show. This is Eagles Now by Chat Sports. Chase Sr. hanging out here with you. And no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, thank you so much, as always, for making today's show a part of your day. Just a programming alert. Earlier today, caught up with General Manager Howie Roseman, his first press conference since winning Super Bowl 59, his second Super Bowl championship as an executive, building this football team since 2017, and his last press conference prior to free agency getting underway on March 14th. All of that is up on the channel right now. Long-form content, short-form content. That's why you hit that sub button for the best daily and year-round coverage of the Philadelphia Eagles right here on YouTube. As for the purpose of this show, just want to discuss the latest trade buzz around the Eagles and Myles Garrett. And let me just give you an inside look as far as what the NFL Combine is like. A lot of people will watch the NFL Network and they'll see all these prospects go through all of these drills in the lead up to the 2025 NFL draft at the end of April, but a lot of you don't understand or know what happens behind the scenes right here on Radio Row, which is where myself and producer Chip are doing the show from. The NFL Combine, outside of all of the drills, is a job fair of sorts for the National Football League. Everywhere you go around the Indianapolis Convention Center, around the city of Indianapolis, you see everybody from NFL insiders to NFL coaches, NFL general managers. You see a lot of members of respective front offices for all 32 teams across the league. You'll see scouts rolling around wearing team-issued gear. And, of course, you'll run into a lot of NFL draft prospects. And here this week, we interviewed Howie Roseman. We interviewed Nick Sirianni. We'll talk to some draft prospects as well to see which players the Eagles are meeting with in the lead up to the draft. Last year, we caught up with Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, and they ended up being the top two picks for the Eagles in the 2024 NFL draft, and both starters for a team that went on to have a tremendous season, won Super Bowl 59, and were two critical components of the number one overall defense in the National Football League. And as part of the process here in Indy, when all of these people from the NFL are here, and all 32 teams are represented, you'll start to put out some feelers. You'll talk with a lot of people. You'll start to hear a lot of rumors and a lot of chatter and a lot of buzz. And this is a small city, so you'll go out to a restaurant. You'll see people walking around who are very noticeable, and everywhere, all 32 teams across the league are very well represented. And it's a cool opportunity for somebody like me because you can network a little bit. And so you hear some things and you have some conversations about the latest happenings around the National Football League, and I am here to tell you right now, long story short, there is some real chatter about the Philadelphia Eagles pursuing Myles Garrett via a trade, and it would be a blockbuster trade this offseason to make the rich get richer. There was the report from Jeremy Fowler of ESPN, which really started to garner a lot of opinions and a lot of momentum that started to go viral on social media earlier. And obviously, over the last several days, we've been talking a lot about a Myles Garrett trade right here on the show. But this Fowler report specifically, the newest report that he had, very interesting here. He said this, quote, "This is a conversation that some people in the league have had, that the Philadelphia Eagles, one of the most aggressive teams on the trade market, will be looking for a pass rusher. Josh Sweat could be out. The expectation is that he's going to sign elsewhere. Eagles won't be able to afford him, nor do they want to bring him back at the price tag that he's going to sign at, especially after a really good year, dominant performance in Super Bowl 59 against Kansas City." And then Fowler continued by saying the Eagles would not want to see Myles Garrett go to the Commanders. So maybe Howie Roseman could step in and make a deal that the Browns can't refuse. And let's talk a little bit about the Commanders here, right? Jaden Daniels is for real. We saw it during his rookie campaign. He is highly skilled, and he is dangerous. And because of that, the Commanders are going to be a problem in the NFC East and in the NFC for the foreseeable future. They are a legitimate threat to the Philadelphia Eagles and them trying to form a dynasty with the collection of core pieces that they have, who are all young and under contract for the most part. And this Commanders-Eagles rivalry is really about to pick up steam over the next few years. And from the Commanders' standpoint, while Jaden Daniels is on his rookie contract, 4-year deal, it can be a 5-year deal if they exercise that 5th-year option. He's a pretty cost-controlled, affordable player for the remainder of his rookie deal. And so a team-building strategy that's become very popular for teams across the NFL take advantage of quarterbacks on their rookie deals, like the Eagles did in 2022 with Jalen Hurts, like the Bengals did with Joe Burrow. That is a common team-building strategy. And so the Commanders need help on defense. They are not good enough on that side of the ball to be a championship contender. Shoot, Philadelphia at the link in the NFC Championship game hung 55 points up against Washington. It doesn't matter what your offense does if your defense can't stop a nosebleed. And so the Commanders and the Eagles are the two top teams in the next team odds for Myles Garrett, because you have Washington looking to go all in, fortify that defense, bring in a star who's one of the finest overall players and arguably the best defensive player in the game to join that team to help push them over the top while Daniels is still on that rookie contract. And then you have Philadelphia, who is so talented, best team in the NFL, class of the NFL right now. I asked Howie Roseman what's different about this year's team trying to run it back as compared to the 2017 team that was trying to run it back. And Howie said, well, this year we have a lot of our young core players who are all under contract. And so there could be a dynastic run for Philadelphia. And why waste any time? Why not go all in, make a trade for Myles Garrett? Howie Roseman loves to build his team along the trenches. He said today that he has an unhealthy obsession with building his team along the offensive line and the defensive line. And you know he's always trying to go big game hunting. He's always trying to go star hunting. And so a player like Myles Garrett is looked at as a star by other teams and especially valued by a team like Philadelphia, and all other 31 teams across the NFL know that. They know how aggressive Howie Roseman is. They know that he will try to go all in to try to run it back. He's always trying to maximize his football team, make them elite to the best of their capabilities. Jeffrey Lurie will give him the leeway in order to build the team as he sees fit. And so that's why there's a lot of chatter right now about the Eagles lurking, about the Eagles poking around, making some calls, trying to negotiate a trade for Myles Garrett. Now, Fowler did add that the Browns are still saying that they won't be trading Myles Garrett. It's technically true, right? Browns general manager Andrew Berry, who used to work under Howie Roseman and used that resume and experience to land the Browns general manager job, started his press conference today by saying this right off the jump to try to throw cold water on the Myles Garrett trade flames.
All right. So Indianapolis is always an exciting time for us. It's particularly this year where we go into the offseason with what will likely be 11 picks, including number 2 overall, and our first time in 3 years with a pick in the top 50. So we're looking forward to getting to know these 300-plus guys in Indianapolis over the next week, and continue to do more work over the next few months to see who becomes Browns in April. Before I open up for questions, let me just touch on Myles. So Myles, as you guys have all heard me say, he's a huge part of our organization, really good person. He's an awesome player. Understand the trade requests and everything, but our stance really has not changed. We can't imagine a situation where not having Myles as a part of the organization is best for the Browns. So I just want to hit that off the top, and with that, I'll open up for questions.
And it's pretty funny how that happened, right? I mean, Andrew Berry walks right up to the podium, says, hello, everybody. Excited to be back here in Indianapolis. Let's talk about Myles Garrett. And look, he can say that. I don't know if it means anything. Here's why. If a rebuilding team is offered a good trade package for a 29-year-old pass rusher who's also looking for a contract extension, and according to some of the chatter here, He could be looking to land a deal that pays him $34 million per year because right now his AAV, average annual value, is $25 million, and that's an underpay. I mean, that's a great deal for Cleveland, for Myles Garrett. If you're Andrew Berry, how do you not take a great trade deal and a trade package for a player like Myles Garrett? Because it allows you to quicken your rebuild, and it's smart to take the offer to get your football team back on track. And so Andrew Berry can say that now, but he might be trying to increase the value, up the value, and say, we're not trading Myles, and if we're going to trade him, it's going to be a huge trade package that you have to offer me. Now, of course, Howie Roseman was also asked about this today, but because of NFL rules, he can't comment on players on other teams because Garrett is still rostered by Cleveland. But this was a pretty funny back and forth between him and Elliot Shore-Parks, friend of the show of 94 WIP. And I told Elliot, who was right here to my left as he asked Howie this question, I'm so glad you still asked it. I wasn't going to because I knew what the answer was going to be. But it was a good dialogue and back and forth between Howie and ESP, who's been covering the team for a very long time. But I want you to really focus in on what exactly Howie said once he started to divulge on a potential trade for a superstar-like player like Myles Garrett.
Yeah. How many years have you been doing this? Yeah, I figured. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about anyone under contract with another team. I think that, one thing that I can promise our fans is that there will not be a player that's available that we won't study, that we won't look at and see if it can help the team. Sometimes those opportunities work and you're able to do that, and sometimes they don't.
And so what's the takeaway there, right? Howie, as I mentioned earlier, always going to try to improve his football team. He's very aggressive. He always goes star hunting. And so Myles Garrett cannot be ruled out. It just makes too much sense for where the Eagles are, what they value as a football team. Howie talked about, like I said, building his team along the trenches, but he said that, yeah, you can consider edge rushers as franchise players, so the Eagles value that. And think about what the Eagles are trying to do. They're trying to go on a dynastic run here. Think about what they're trying to accomplish, be a part of NFL history. They're not content with just one Super Bowl. Lane Johnson's back in the gym. Jalen Hurts is back in the gym. A.J. Brown said, yeah, I was so excited to win the Super Bowl. The parade was incredible. Philadelphia is an incredible city, but it wasn't the feeling that I was anticipating. They are hungry to try to run it back, and Myles Garrett allows you to do that. And think about who the Eagles could lose on this roster. Josh Sweat could make $18 to $20 million average annual value on the open market. Milton Williams could make $18 to $20 million in free agency. That could be $35 to $40 million right there for those two players that the Eagles do not pay to retain. Whereas Myles Garrett, you get him at $25 million under contract for the next couple of years. You give him a contract extension. You backload that thing a little bit. The NFL salary cap is going to continue to increase. The cap hit and base salaries could be slow over the next couple of years, which allows Howie and the Eagles to continue to put stars together on this Eagles roster. Just some thoughts that I wanted to pass along late night here as we're burning the midnight oil as everybody starts to leave here from Radio Row at the NFL Combine. Combine coverage will continue all throughout the week. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Whatever I hear, I'll pass along that information. Don't forget to give me a follow on social media. I'm on X at Chase_Senior, on Instagram at Chase_Senior. In addition to all of the long-form content here on YouTube, I cover the birds on the social media pages as well.